Good Monday evening, everyone, and welcome to Monday Night Safety Stop. My cohort and partner in crime here, JoJo. Which way are you, Joe?
Uh, that way?
That way. I don't know which way I'm going.
You're that way, which is the
One
opposite
of
of
the
what
two.
you.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. I got to think the camera's reversed, so you're actually that
Uh-huh.
way, not that way.
Yeah, so you're pointing to your right, but you're actually pointing to your left.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like the mirror image that way. Oh goodness! All right. Well, hey, it is. We are about to start warming up, Joe.
Start. We get what a day at 35 degrees, then we drop again.
Well, that's okay because it's going to be up in the 40s tomorrow. And then I was looking at the long range forecast, and they're saying by the end of next week it's going to be like a high of 60. So, hey,
Ooh.
come on. Warms that water up. Yeah, right. All right. Well, me and Joe were just talking just before we come on, and one thing that we haven't talked about in a while is the case from Texas on the 12-year-old girl back. What was it? August.
Well, it happened I think in July, but we really didn't find out about it until probably I think around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it was like September, October-ish. And then there for about a week or so, you know, more information kept coming out, and then finally it was just silent, like nothing.
Hmm.
We were talking about it before the show because nobody had heard anything else until we discovered that there has been a lawsuit filed. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the case that we're talking about. Uh, Happened in July. A 12-year-old young lady was doing her open water checkout dives. Uh, Texas. Um,
Texas, yep.
yeah, this was it the Scuba Ranch or something like that.
Uh, Let me see.
Give us a
It was like
backstory.
Toy Scuba or something like that was a shop.
Yeah, Scuba Toys or something like that.
Uh, yeah, so that was a shop that went. Yep, Scuba Toys. Uh, and of course that was a lot of stuff going on with that case. Why was a 12-year-old left alone? Where was the supervision? Um, and then other factors have kind of fell into the situation, like the instructor going nearly 24 hours without sleep, and
Oh yeah, and it was
visibility apparently was really bad.
well, when the story first broke, it was broke by a TV station, I believe in Dallas. Back in I think it was October. Now, remember this situation, this accident happened in July. And of
Hmm.
course, it was very, very low key. And then all of a sudden, this TV station in October started to, started to investigate it. And we picked up on it. What was it, Joe? Like it was the same week. Like it just blew up.
Yeah, and it blew up heavily, especially when the shop owner put his 2 cents into the situation.
Yeah, but I think that was like what a week or so later when that one come out. Because when it
Yeah,
first,
I think it happened shortly after the news article was released, and they're talking about it
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much.
I mean, it like they announced it because there was computers were missing. From to where they could evaluate and see. They had two of the three computers. One computer was missing. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it was just like red flag after red flag after red flag, and then crickets. I mean, end of October to 2 hours ago, from what I've read, you didn't hear anything on it. You could research it. The latest information was October, and yeah,
Hmm. So
yeah.
yeah, no, there's an update.
There is an update, and I'm not really sure. It would be interesting to kind of see the. It's saying there's a 40-page lawsuit, details multiple, and I'm reading off the screen here, so forgive me a second. 40-page lawsuit details multiple failures that the lawsuit says are a result of the scuba diving industry turning a blind eye to safety failures for years. Now, I don't know.
That's kind
uh,
of weird. One, where do you get the 40 uh, citations pretty much of what went
well,
wrong?
no,
Who,
what
who,
it's
you- who
saying,
you use for a reference there?
what it's saying is the lawsuit itself is like 40 pages. So all the everything in the suit is like 40 pages. Uh,
Yeah.
but saying that the scuba industry turning a blind eye to safety failures for years, I think that one's a stretch.
I think that's a stretch too, because I don't know about you, but I do know about you. But I'm just saying we take safety very seriously.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. But, on that aspect, do I see a lot of things that went wrong with this case? Yes. I see a ton of things that went wrong. And, you know, I think they're going to have a hard time on the turning a blind eye to safety, because standards are written for safety.
yeah, it's what they're there for. If not, everybody would just do whatever they wanted, and we'd have
Yes.
miscommunications and uh, you
And,
know
and
criteria that would actually promote dangerous situations. So
yes, and safety standards aren't something that they write once and that's it. It's in stone. They're always evolving safety standards. I know SSI does. If they don't do at least an annual, there's 3 or 4 updates throughout the season where they update training standards and you know for minors the standards
yeah,
for minors are always evolving. I mean, I
yeah, and
remember.
it's actually gotten a lot stricter over the years for
Oh yeah,
minors.
yeah. I mean, I remember when I went through as a 12-year-old when I got my scuba certification. It was the same as an irregular open water as an adult.
Mine too. Yeah, I went through with the full class, and there was other students my
Oh
same age.
yeah, yeah, and a lot of the training agencies, SSI, PADI, NAUI, SDI, you know, the training standards that they have evolved over the years to be more strict, especially when it comes to minors in diving. I mean, they just changed it a couple of years ago. It used to be 10 and 11-year-olds. Your ratio was 4 to 1, and you couldn't have more than two uh, minors in that 4 to 1 ratio.
Yeah,
And if you was over 12, then you was falling in line with the adults. And then a couple of years ago they changed that to 15, which is the age you go from junior to regular open water. They changed that to, if you're 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, your ratio drops 4 to 1. So a lot of these training agencies are, that's an RSTC, so they all adopt them.
yep. And then you got, I know they had restrictions on, you know, a second professional. You could normally you could add two more students if you have another professional. You can't do that now with really, the 12-year-olds,
Oh
10-year
yeah,
olds.
yeah. Looks like Todd's in here. Hello, Todd, Mr. Frank, both you gentlemen. Good evening. Um, yeah, I mean, we're just following up on this because it's been quiet for a couple of months, 3 months actually. Um, so just breaking. So we know now that there was a lawsuit filed. Um, there was a lawsuit in the Linnea Mills case. So that drug out for a couple of years. I think there was a settlement in that one. So one thing that is curious on this report too, and this is live on what I say Fox KDFW. Um,
Yeah, I'm looking at Fox 4.
yeah, Fox 4. Lawsuit claims 12-year-old scuba death was preventable, cites flippant scuba industry safety concerns. I don't think it's an industry problem. I mean, it is an industry problem, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's an industry problem. It's more of an oversight problem.
Definitely an oversight problem. Eh, Bad judgment problem.
Well,
We even talk about, we call the dives and when we have bad visibility, and that is very, very, we don't get that very often. We usually have good visibility at the court.
yeah,
So,
but if you can't see
done it
your
before.
student, huh?
But we have done it. We have called dives because of the visibility.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if you can't see your student, how do you expect to see a class of 8? You can't.
Not if you can't even see your buddy beside you. You ain't. You
Exactly.
know when you got to evaluate skills, you got to see them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and if you've got to be right up on them to see them, I mean, that's red flags right there.
I mean, it doesn't tell us what dive it was. Was it the first dive? Was it the fourth dive? You know, you know, where we teach ourselves to put ourselves between us and students and the danger. So, like in a pool setting, we'll be between the shallow end and the deep end. That way, nobody can get in the deep end with before we're ready. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah. What
So
really gets me is that they list both Nowie and Patty.
yeah, that's what up until this point here, um, Patty hadn't been listed, so I don't know. I haven't seen anything else except for this one here, and it says in Kaufman County, Texas, the parents of a 12-year-old North Texas girl who drowned during scuba certification class have filed a lawsuit against 2 scuba certification agencies. And then it goes on to list Nowie and Patty. So was Scuba Toys both at
That's
that point in time?
kind of what I'm asking. I was they dual agency, and
Yeah, of
then
course, we all know now Patty has done away with the dual agency, or supposedly. Uh,
supposedly, I almost think that they're nitpicking on that too.
they probably are, which is going to cause more problems for them. But regardless, you know but that's my question is, back in October when the story broke, and we kept getting you know updates up until we wasn't. Um, it was talking about Nowie, and what was it a Nowie class? Was it a Patty class? But the according to the Fox 4, um, let's see if I can find it again. I know I've seen it.
Now I was reading here that the Scuba Toys, I mean, just literally closed their doors on January 31st. So I mean, 2 days ago they
Oh,
closed up shop.
well, and then with this lawsuit being filed, I mean, uh, in fact,
You can't
I
sue the
know.
business now. Do you sue the individuals?
Yeah, it's right towards the end where it says past coverage. Says what's next. The family attorney declined to do an interview in order to respect the family's privacy and the legal process, which is understandable. Uh,
Mm.
Anybody who's in litigation is not going to give comments. Uh,
No, and you should. I mean, that's just good
no,
legal.
yeah, but it also goes on to say just below that, scuba organizations Nowie and Patty have not responded to Fox 4's request for a comment on the lawsuit. So, yeah, it makes you ask the question. So, are the two training agencies involved? Is it Patty? Is it Nowie? Who is it?
I don't know. I guess it would depend on which one they're teaching under.
That's a good question.
Maybe they're teaching both at the same time, so they're just doing both. I don't know.
uh, that is a very good question, and that's something that hopefully will come out. But did want to bring this up tonight because uh, as far as the safety, the standards it's built in, the standards are there. There's you can't get much more safety standards than that, unless you just don't go diving, which for a lot of us, that's not an
That ain't
option.
an option.
That's not an option, But again, there are always bad apples out there teaching scuba. We all know it, you know.
Yes.
Um, you
And
know,
it's really up to the dive shops to really try to screen and catch those things.
exactly, But again, when you've got videos from 2017 that are surfacing, showing what they showed in this case here, that's pretty damning evidence right there. I mean, this is this is this is going to be something to see. I mean, again, I think there does need to be more oversight. You know, there needs to be, QA needs to be done more often.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, it kind of gets me is why the agents. I mean, and I don't know the backdoor stuff, but why doesn't the agencies require evals and stuff from your instructors and such from the dive shop?
yeah, yeah. Well, and with us, all of our instructors get monitored one class a year,
Yeah,
and just to
but that,
ensure maintaining
that's our
standards.
policy, right? That's
Yeah.
not a yeah, that's not a like a national thing or
No, no,
county.
and even training, even SSI, which we primarily are SSI, their QMS, quality management system, you know, they automatically send stuff out to the students like questionnaires. And the funniest one, and of course, when SSI sends these out, they're being sent out from Germany, so they're in metric, not imperial. So it'll be a question. Well, how deep did your instructor take you? And people will put 30, 40, 50 foot, whatever open water. How deep did they take you? Oh, we went 30, 40, 50 foot. They don't see the M out beside of it, so those are the
Go
ones that
30 meters.
they get flagged constantly. And it's something. Hey, if you get one, please note these are in meter or metric. They're not. It's meters, not feet. So please don't put. If you go 30 feet, please don't put 30 in there. It's going to be meters. And if you put 30, make sure you put FT.
Uh,
you know, so that it's there. But I know SSI does that, and Patty does it to an extent. But they don't get. I don't think they do it as often. Now I don't know what the ratios are. I don't know if they're sending them out every fifth student, every 10th student, every 100th student. I don't know. And SSI the same way. I don't know how they do their metrics. But I know throughout the season, I get these the results of the QMS, and like I said, we've had them. We'll get flagged because a student put 30 in the depth, and of course it says M for meters, and they'll be like, "Why did you take a student 30 meters?" We didn't. It's 30 feet. They didn't convert it to meters. Oh, well, that makes sense.
yeah.
It's It is. I mean, it would be easier if they had a way to standardize. You know, either do everything metric or everything imperial, one way or the other, so that you didn't get that. But that is one of the constant red flags I know SSI gets, is because students will put, you know, 30, 40, 50, meaning feet, and it's actually meters, and then they're questioning, why did you take an open water student 30 meters?
Hmm.
We didn't. Why'd you take them 50 meters? We didn't.
The ones that say I didn't do that skill, I didn't do that skill. You know? I was like, no, you did do them. You just didn't probably recognize what we called that skill.
Well, you got to think, when you're teaching open water students, you call the skill, you demonstrate the skill, they do it, you practice it, you move to the next one, and you review all the ones you've done. You got to think they're learning a whole lot of new
Hold on.
things,
They're not
and
worried about what they're calling it. You're worried about just doing it.
yeah, yeah. So all you got to do is say math skills, partial, full, removal, and replace. I guarantee you, everybody will remember the math skills. I remember my math skills. Going
Especially if
through,
you struggle.
yeah, struggle bus. Let me tell you, you know. But again, the safety standards are there written. That's there. It's in black and white. Every dive professional with every dive agency has access. They know how they're supposed to conduct the classes. They know their minimum set of standards, and you can't break those. If you break those, then you're liable. It's you.
Yeah.
And really, in this case here, I don't know the instructor. He may be a wonderful, fabulous guy, just overworked and trying to do too much. I don't know. But was he at fault? Did he meet standards? That's what the court. That's what the lawsuit's going to have to figure out.
Yeah. And those lawyers are good.
Oh yeah. Well, if you watched Dive Talk, they had the Linnea Mills case. They done a
They
two
did.
part, huh?
Yeah, and if you haven't watched that, go back and watch that.
Oh
That
yeah,
was
yeah. I
it.
mean, by now everybody should, everybody in the diving industry, at least professional wise, knows about the Linnea Mills case. Up, was it Montana,
Yeah.
Wyoming,
Uh,
Montana area? That was, you know, that was a, you know, red flag situation there too. But they done, like, I think it was last summer actually. They done a two-part series with her mom, the dive buddy who was with her, and the attorney who specializes in dive accidents. And so, very interesting to get the full story, by them talking, and it'd be interesting to see once this kind of gets. Okay, I have no idea what's going on.
what?
There you go.
Just
I don't know. I mean, I was sitting there talking, and then you weren't moving, and then it said chat disconnected, and I have no idea what happened.
it's like I'm looking. I'm like I'm halfway through a blink, and everything's just paused.
I know. I'm sitting here talking, not realizing that you're not moving. So, okay. But anyway, what I was saying is, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of impact this has on the scuba industry.
Ah, oversight sounds like it would be a step in the right direction,
Yeah. All right.
especially since it's
Thanks,
going to be
Todd.
more and more
Todd
cases.
says we're back on. Yeah, I have no idea what happened. But yes, I think you're right. I think, the oversight, I don't, Patty doesn't really require it. I'm not sure about NAUI. We're just getting started with SDI. But SSI has, we have to have a QMS person on staff, and typically that is the highest trained dive professional uh, at your dive center. You know, so in our case, that's Brian because he is an instructor trainer.
Mm-hmm.
So so he is the one who deals with all the quality management stuff, and so I mean I get the emails, the results and stuff like that. But you know, Patty doesn't have that. Nowie, I don't think has it, but I'm not. If anybody's Nowie, you want to throw up in the comments. I don't know that they have that. SDI, I'm still learning, so I can't. I can't really comment on that one either because I don't know. We haven't been through the crossover yet. But you know, and it's not a matter of dive shops being bad or instructors not doing what they're. It's not an agency slam. The agencies are
No,
doing what they can do to make sure that the training is safe.
it could just be as simple as a freaking bad day that went to heck. But other times it might be you've gotten away with doing the same thing a million times the wrong way, and then finally it bit you in the butt.
Oh yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, we've all heard the horror stories of selling C cards.
oh yeah,
You know,
doing the cattle shoots, just getting people in and through the door.
yeah. I mean, we've all heard those horror stories of you got the money, we'll sell you a certification card. And there's been several instructors out there that have been busted for that have are no longer allowed to teach. Which again is justifiable. You've got to teach students, and that's one thing. Being a dive professional, if I don't feel comfortable putting my name on a C card saying this person can go out and do open water dives, then I don't have to certify them.
Mm-hmm.
I can bring them back into the pool, do more work, work with them until the point that I feel comfortable that, they're not going to go out and have an accident. Luckily, I've not had to do that, but I have had to take extra time with students who, just weren't quite up to meeting the mastery skills. Work with them some more, and then they're finally able to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't take shortcuts.
No, the time that your instructor puts with you tells a lot about who you're working with. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, in some places, if you don't quite make it, you need some more work. Then they'll say, "Hey, come on back to the pool. We're doing, another pool session." Or they'll work with you if they have their own pool. Come back in. We'll get in the pool. We'll work some more. And typically, they don't charge you. If they do, it's not an exuberant amount. But if it takes you, 4 months, it takes you 4 months. You can't rush it. You got to be safe about it. You can't cut corners. Uh, Obviously, you have to go by the minimum standards, and unfortunately, in this situation here, there was several systemic failures in that process.
Yeah, uh, uh, I don't know how to even classify it, but yeah.
Well, I mean, again, it's not so. I mean, we have to wait and see, see all the facts. We don't have the entire story. We're getting, as Fox 4 reports on it, they're going to get, the facts. But, if you got one side that's not saying anything, not commenting, or since the legal process has just now getting started, we're not going to know the facts until everything's over with. You know,
No, and we're just digging on whatever the news agency's saying.
yeah.
They're not
I mean,
able to talk to the scuba shop or the instructor or now your Dan. They're
Yeah.
They're really just probably looking at the police report and getting side stories. So
Well, and that's true. I mean, it's going to be interesting as they work through the instructor here. You know, did he work his regular job the day before at the sheriff's department, and then that night go in and work a side gig, and then try to come in and teach class that next that next morning? That's going to be an interesting a fact, because if that's the case, then you do have sleep deprivation.
yeah, I mean, I can't. I assume he's got a good character. I mean, he's a deputy. He's safety's like his number one goal.
Yeah, oh yeah.
uh,
We just have to we just have to follow it. But that's one reason I wanted to bring this up tonight is because they're talking about a failure of the safety in the scuba industry, which flippant scuba industry safety concerns, which again, training agencies, RSTC, which is made up of training agencies, they set the standards, and those standards are the safety standards. And we're all supposed to teach at minimum this set of standards. We can always go above and beyond and add more safety stuff to it, but we can't take anything away.
hmm
You know, for example, and I brought it up all ago, mask. Oh, can you take your mask off and put it back on underwater? Okay, great. You're good. Can't do that. They have to do partial flood, full flood, removal and replacement, and be able to demonstrate that with mastery. Now, mastery doesn't say, it has to be perfect, but they do have to clear the water. It doesn't say how to clear the water. It just says they have to be able to partially flood, fully flood, remove and replace, and clear all the water out of their mask.
Yeah, and to do it in such a way that it ain't going to create a panic or safety to themselves or others.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
You know,
and then kind of want to go this route is they also called it, we're really poking at being self-policed, uh, which is kind of a weird thing to me because who better to police than the people that actually know how to dive?
well, that's true. And, for the most part, the scuba industry is only as good as those that are teaching it. You know, it's like I've always said, it's not the training agencies that make the training. It's not. It's the instructors. It's the face of the training agency. When somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I want to get certified," okay, let me introduce you to your instructor. It's the instructor who is the face of the agency. Your assistant instructor, your dive masters, those are the faces of the training agency wherever you're at. And if you've got good ones, people are going to have a good time. They're going to learn exactly what they need to do. If they cut corners and they produce a less than desirable student or diver and they cut corners, it's going to show when they go out someplace. Other dive shops, other dive masters on trips. They're going to see this and they're going to be like, how in the world did you get certified? That's what they're going to be thinking. Uh,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
then they're trying to fix you on a dive trip. Like, you need to get a little better. I want to suggest you do this.
oh yeah,
Uh,
it's yeah, that's the ones that again that give the industry a bad name. You know, whether they're intentionally cutting corners or they just don't know. I mean, again, Patty puts out their updates in the Undersea Journal, which every dive professional gets, or I know every instructor gets. I think dive masters get it too. Um, but every quarter, so 4 times a year, this magazine comes out to every member of Patty with different stuff that's going on that quarter, as well as updates, standard updates. If there's been any standards, it's in there. That's one of the requirements of being a PADI professional is you have to agree you're going to read the Undersea Journal for training standard updates.
Yeah. I
Uh,
know SSI. We do pretty much monthly seminars.
yes.
We discuss those as well and different changes going on,
Oh
like
yeah.
the
Yeah.
big
They'll.
changes we had to our professional program and the
Yep.
our advanced diving program just
Hmm.
went through.
Yeah. Oh, and I know I got a thing from SDI TDI the other day. They've got a webinar thing coming up for professional update. So, and I would assume now he does too. So the updates are out there. The updates are being pushed out for these. I mean, the training agencies are doing all they can do.
hmm I get emails constantly. There's been a change,
Oh yeah.
and then they document it in our apps. Where to look at it. I
Yep.
think they've even put out some memos with red lines in it showing what the changes are.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and like SSI, they will. They'll highlight the change so that what's changed. And anytime they come out with a standards change, they update the downloadable version to where we can download it and see that is changed.
And
Um,
that's
you know,
really a good thing with the having all these electronics is they're updated pretty much in the now time.
oh yeah,
we're,
years
we're not
ago.
waiting a year to put changes in effect. We're doing it as we progress.
Yeah, I mean, in today's technologically advanced world, versus 20 years ago. Now, again, I mentioned Patty a while ago, the Undersea Journal, that's something that they've continued doing. It's no, I haven't seen the physical magazine in a while, but it comes to email, digital publication. Even though my membership expired January 1st, I got the first quarter today of the Undersea Journal. Um, you know, so it is what it is. They're putting them out there. They're putting these updates out. And that's it's up to the instructors, the professionals. If you don't have like dive shop oversight, you don't have somebody who runs like quality management, which a lot of places don't. They rely on the training agencies to notify them, hey, there's a problem. You know, if
Uh,
you
I I want somebody watching me. I want somebody's second opinion to make sure I'm on the right and straight and narrow, and not getting in my head and too overconfident in what I'm doing.
yeah.
So
Well, I mean, we all need that. Even though we're considered professionals in the industry, we're human.
hmm
We may miss something. I'll be the first one. Hey, if I don't see something on an update, let me know. Because we need to be going by the most current standards. When you've been doing this for 30 years, the years kind of run together. So if there's
yeah,
been a change, a major change, and sometimes there's subtle changes. I mean, it may just be something as simple as the ratio thing. They changed it from 10 to 11 to 10 through 15, and you
hmm
can't have any more. You can't add. Well, I think you can if they're 12 or older. If your youngest one is
12
12,
or older, but if
you
they're
can add two.
between 10 and 12, it's four max.
Yes, yeah. So, is it an issue, of turning a blind eye on safety, as this alleges? Um, where did I see that at? Uh, yes, something about turning a blind eye. Let's see. Oh,
But what you don't want is the politicians that have no freaking idea what they're talking about getting involved.
yeah. I mean, if they try to do that, then there's going to have to be a push to regulate mountain biking and golfing and all these other hobbies. You can't just single out. You know, the chances of getting hit in the head with a golf ball. Uh, Now these golf courses are going to have to put up safety nets on each hole.
Was it Top Golf that if you start hitting it over the net, they'll kick you out.
Yeah, it's it's one of those things. If everything's being done on the training standard, this training agency's side of it, they're putting out the standards. They can't, they don't have the manpower to be everywhere at every dive, every scuba class overseeing.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
No, but I mean, you got to turn in your records every year. You got to show that you're teaching. You got to sign off and initial. There's a lot of paperwork that you got to turn in to the
oh yeah,
agency. Um, and then, I mean, I'm not saying that, hey, if they pop their heads in every 3 or 4 or 5 years wouldn't help, because now you're always pivoting just to make sure you're on top of your game.
yeah. Well, and again, on this case here, which, like I said, it's gonna be interesting seeing the updates, as this progresses. Um, do I think there were failures in this? Yes, I do. I think there was things that should have happened that didn't happen. That's just my opinion, just from what I've read. I wasn't there, so I don't know. But just from what I'm seeing, there are red flags that would give cause for concern. But to say the diving industry turned a blind eye to safety failures for years, that's
Mm,
just simply not true.
no, it's one case out of the hundreds of thousands of divers that come out of the program each year.
Well, and I'm not going to say that, Joe. I'm going to say, again, the training agencies, they don't turn a blind eye to safety. They put these training standards out. They revise them, frequently, at least annually, if not 3 or 4 times a year.
Hmm.
So they're doing what they can.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm just saying, there's people that slip through the cracks.
There are. There are, and I hate to say it, and I really do, because I know a ton of people who are great instructors, but, I'm seeing all the time, 8, 10, 12 patty instructors, on a weekly basis. They're pumping instructors out. And it just seems, and I pick on Patty because they're the largest. They are putting out more divers, they are putting out more instructors, but when you're pumping out, 1,500 to 2,000 instructors, and that's just a number off the top of my head. I don't know what the actual number is. But when you're putting out all these instructors, a year, you know, you just thrown quality out the window. Now you're pushing quantity.
Hmm.
You
No,
know,
we see that. See it.
well, and most training agencies, if you want to be an instructor trainer or an instructor IDC course director or whatnot, if you want to teach instructors, most of the training agencies will only do 1 or 2 of those classes a year. Now that tells you something.
Yeah, there shouldn't be a whole lot of instructor trainers.
Exactly. I mean, of course, as we age out, you need more coming in. But again, that shows you, the training agencies are responsible for developing instructor trainers or course directors. They're teaching their systems, whether it's Patty, Nowie, whatever. So, but they're only doing 1 to 2 of these courses a year. You know, instructor trainer. I mean, SSI. I think they done. I know Brian went through the one in April. I think they do 2 a year here in the U.S. Now you can go other places, but Patty, I believe they only do one or two a year. Used to they done one in the Caribbean and then they done one over in Europe, Asia. They would alternate them. Not really sure how they're doing those now, but they're not doing a lot. I mean, they're not doing instructor, trainer, or course director classes, 3 or 4 times a year. They're not doing them.
I mean, when you're trying to be an instructor to teach an instructor, you really got to be on top of your game.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And of course, I think when Brian said he went through, April of last year, I think there were eight eight instructor trainer candidates in his class. I think he was number 9 or
And probably all regional, this side of the Mississippi across many states.
well, I mean, it's the only class, or I say the April class was done in Florida. So, you know, it's open to, anybody who has the prerequisites and gets approved. I mean, I know SSI, you have to be recommended by two professionals in the industry. You have to have all the prerequisites. I mean, it's not an easy class to get into. And the same thing
Mm.
with Patty's course director. I mean, they're not easy classes to get into. You don't just sign up and take the class like you do most any other scuba classes. So but my point to this is, the training agencies are not doing these instructor trainer programs like they're doing instructor classes. You've got all these different, trainers out there who are training instructors and they're going around doing instructor evaluations, everywhere, basically every weekend, and I'm not talking about one agency over the other. I'm just kind of, summarizing them all, between all agencies. I'm sure there is an instructor evaluation going on somewhere in this world every weekend, whether it's Patty, Nowie, SDI, TDI, SSI, there's one going on.
Has to be. I mean, look at all the instructors and all the dive shops. Not
Yeah.
that we're a big community, but I mean, to be a dive shop, you kind of have to have instructors.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I mean that's true. But again, that's just where it falls. I'm seeing more quantity over quality in recent times than I did 25 years ago. But
Mm. I
it's
mean,
just
we did cave rules. We dove. Well, I trained 10 years ago. It was rule of thirds.
yeah.
So
Well, I mean that's still a thing. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's still a thing, but we actually say half a tank we turn.
yeah,
We're a little bit more. We were actually more conservative back then. I
yeah.
think.
Well, like I said, and not knocking any agency because the agencies are putting out the standards, which is their job, for training. Again, uh, judgment, judgment call. It's a failure of judgment. If in fact, the what we have read comes back, and this instructor, he may be a great instructor, great person, but if he had a lack in judgment, worked all day the day before and then worked all night a second job the night before, he should have made arrangements to postpone the class or have another instructor. You know, that's a judgment call.
I think he
Uh,
did have another instructor, or at least another professional
I think it was a dive master.
dive master,
Yeah, because
which is pretty much a safety diver.
if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the dive master computer that was lost. From what I remember, I think it was the dive master's computer that was lost. But it's a heartbreaking story. Any way it goes,
Shouldn't have happened.
it shouldn't have. Now, you think how many kids get certified on an annual basis?
Yeah, that's not many. I really want that number to go up. At the same time, I know we had an argument. Well, it wasn't really an argument. It was a discussion about really should kids be diving due to the maturity and
Yeah.
the risks involved. Which
Oh yeah.
my girls, Yes, I think they're mature enough to handle it. My boy right now, no, he's not diving.
Well, and you said it right there. I mean, when you're dealing with kids, of course, kids, if they're into water, they love to swim, most of the times they're going to be fish.
Hmm.
They get on there and they're so hyper focused, they're having fun, you know, that's sometimes that can be an issue, getting them to listen, to the instruction, getting them to do things and that falls back to maturity. You know,
Hmm.
kids mature different at different ages. So, I've seen 10-year-olds who were able to do the all the academic stuff, the calculations and everything. I've seen some that struggles with it because the maturity level, they're just not quite there.
Yeah.
I've seen it both ways.
For a 10-year-old, the class is very difficult. I mean, the swim alone. How many kids do you know
Oh
are
yeah.
doing that swim? Most adults don't do that kind of swimming.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard for us. What are you talking about?
I was like, you know how many people I've drugged back because they got too tired and couldn't finish the swim?
Oh yeah. Most definitely. But yeah, I mean, it kids is a different aspect. Are the safety standards in the open water training standards, are they safe enough? The way they're written, I think they're as safe as they can be.
Yeah,
You're not,
you can't get rid of all the risk. So,
yeah, you can't eliminate all the risk, but if you're limiting it to, four students to one instructor, if you have anyone under 15, you may have a family of four, and the family of four is mom, dad, 17-year-old sibling, and a 14-year-old sibling. You're you're constrained down to that family of four.
yep.
Because the youngest one is 14. Now, if the youngest one was 15, then you could increase your class size by two with one certified professional, whether it's a dive master or assistant instructor. But if they're under 15, if I'm not 100% sure, but almost, I think it's under 15, you're maxed out at four.
And it probably is. I'd I'd have to relook at it. I definitely know between 10 and 12. It's
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
more,
10 and
no
12.
more.
Well, see, and that's the interesting thing about it is because, that's been back and forth for several years, on the
Yeah.
ages and that. Like I said,
I mean, when we're doing the explore, putting together the exploratory program together, even in the pool. I mean, we're looking from 8 to 10 year old. It's still only 4 kids in
oh,
the
yeah.
tank.
And 10 years ago in the pool, there were no ratios.
So, I mean, that's in the pool where the kids can, most of them up at 10 years old.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to follow. Again, it's a sad situation. I feel for the family. Like I said, it shouldn't have happened. But now the rest of the industry is on this and watching it to see how is this going to go? How is this going to affect the entire industry? Not just here in the U.S. This is going to have reverberating effects throughout diving in the industry.
no, I mean, you can't just do it through one agency. You're gonna have to do it through it all. You're
Oh yeah.
gonna have to be full, all umbrella.
Well, and that's the RSTC. I mean, that's going to be where the RSTC makes the standards change. The minimum standards change, and then the agencies have to adopt those.
Mhm.
That's part of being an RSTC member.
Uh, enough stuff happens to require everybody to have freaking video cameras on them when we teach.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, you know, or at least have somebody there videoing the courses because the instructors can't
Yeah,
carry them,
yeah, it's true
which
too. I mean,
which is a safety
nobody,
thing.
Is this yeah? Nobody in your group can have a camera.
You know,
Uh,
how many
in the
times have
class.
I had somebody ask, "Hey, can you take a picture of us while we're down there?" Nope, I cannot. You know, you can't have a camera with you in your class, even though it's dive number 4 and you've completed all your skills. You know, we've got to go do this dive now. Dive 5, take your camera, take a picture. I can't do it, but
Mhm.
you know, but no, it's easiest way is have somebody, another professional who is not teaching to set back and you could do that. I know several cave instructors, technical instructors that will have their students videoed so they can go back into the classroom and they can start they can visually see themselves and see what they need to work on, what they need to correct, and it just benefits the student. Can you do that with an open water student? Probably not.
No, learning cave dive and learning to open water are kind of two sides of a different tree.
That's true. Yeah, that's true, definitely.
So
But
I mean, when I do side mount, being able to see what I look like in the water really helps out a lot. So
yeah, yeah. But a lot of safety standards. Again, you know, my thought is, the industry as a whole is as safe as it can be. You know, um, I don't think, unless, some new technology comes out that makes it safer, you're always going to take a risk when you jump in water, you go underneath and you're breathing. You're always going to take a risk. But the easiest way is to mitigate, again, proper training, proper equipment, proper knowledge, you know, and you should not have as much risk. You still got risk, but you have just decreased it versus somebody going on
yeah,
online buying scuba equipment thinking that, oh, well, I got scuba gear, I can go dive. Are you
and
certified?
you can have a heart attack anytime or a stroke. So
Yeah.
and
There's
that's
always
probably one of the
situations.
worst part. To do that when you're diving. I mean, it's bad to have to begin with, but then the compound diving on top of it.
Yeah. So we're gonna stick with this. See, as this progresses, if there's any updates, on this case here. But it's gonna be interesting to see, what all comes out, what the actual facts are, and hopefully there'll be more about it because you know this should not have happened.
Not in my opinion.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have.
So yeah.
Anyway, I guess
All
we
right.
hit that 9 o'clock hour, right?
We just struck that 9 o'clock hour right up here in the corner. It says 9 o'clock. Any final thoughts for us for tonight, Joe?
Uh, we kind of get into deep, into the deep on this side. Who's responsible, who's not.
Well, that's
Pointing
that's not
fingers
for
at.
us.
No, it isn't. But uh, I think we gotta shine a light a little bit more on our processes and how we make things safe, though, which um, I think helps a lot and builds a little bit more trust. With Pennyroyal, because I think we are pretty safe. Um,
As we
but
can be.
as we can be, if there's a better way to do it. We're all ears. Uh,
Always.
Always, yeah. But yeah, prayers for the family. Hopefully, you can find some peace. Um, but yeah,
All right. Well, like I said, we were just talking about this before we come on tonight, and we Joe said he hadn't heard any updates. I hadn't heard any updates, and then I do a quick search just to see, and boom, we discover this. So, um,
posted like 2 hours ago.
yeah. Well, like 3 hours ago now. So I mean, it's fresh off. So it's going to be interesting to follow. Again, like I said, I'm interested to see how this is going to affect the industry. So it's my opinion, it shouldn't have happened. But again, until all the facts are in, and we don't even know, who all's involved or whatnot. Just from the article, is what we have to go by. So
Mhm.
anyway,
Yep. Another great Monday night.
oh yeah, well, it just don't seem like we've been sitting here talking about this for an hour. But hey,
No, I think we can get kind of in depth when we start talking about this stuff. And
safety is
like,
something you just you need to be on top of. You need to be proactive, not reactive.
mhm. Yeah, if you want to be proactive anywhere, it's going to be on safety.
Oh yeah, most definitely. So, all
Yeah.
right, guys. Well, it has been
Good night.
fun. We are thawing out, so I know we put last week a thing on the Facebook asking if anybody thought the quarry would freeze over with the way the temperatures have been, and guess what? No
It
ice
did not.
on the quarry, so still did not freeze. Surface temp still 40, like 44, 45 degrees. So it did cool down, but it is what it is. So uh, other than
The
that,
Ohio's turning into a glacier.
oh yeah, all the major riverways, the Ohio, the Mississippi, all have ice chunks floating down, and we're still sitting here with like a hot tub until the
The
temperature
relative
hits.
hot tub.
Yeah, until the temperature outside hits 60 degrees, then you're going to be freezing. So it is what it is. All right, guys. Well, another successful Monday evening. You know, we come up with things to talk about. Uh, if it's late breaking news, and we try to bring it to you. If it's, oh, I did have one other thing, Joe.
Mm.
Did you see what island was named the best Caribbean uh, destination for 2026?
No, but I can probably guess.
All right.
Since you're bringing it up, it's got to be Roatan.
Actually, no, it was not Roatan.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, there it is. I think the lettering's a little small. What island was just
Oh,
named best Caribbean destination? Believe it or not, it was Curacao.
Carousel.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you're gonna be next door here in a month.
Next door. And then a little bit over a month next door.
Yep.
Yeah.
A little bit over a month. So, all right, guys. Well, one other thing. I haven't seen a lot on it yet, but they just finished up, or they're finishing up, I think today, the Ice Hole Festival in Iowa. So, if you haven't looked it up, it looks like a lot of people had a lot of fun playing underneath the ice at the Ice Hole Festival this past weekend. So, there's that. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you're diving this weekend, we hope it's someplace warm, someplace nice, because we know it's not here. Some of you maybe, I don't know. But anyway, until next Monday night, we hope you guys have a fun, safe, and adventurous week. And we can't wait to see you guys back here next Monday night, right here on our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, like button, and that way you get notified when we come online so you don't forget. So, Joe, did I leave anything out? Oh, you're
Oh,
here.
I'll see you next Monday.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next Monday right here on our YouTube channel.